that's on the minds of many of us, including on the that was brought up this morning with Pam and Steve. It's sustainability in aviation. So at this time, I want to welcome back to the stage for the panel discussion three of the students that we just heard from, Chanel, Zinat, and Taka, and also welcome a fourth member to our panel discussion, Uday Kiran Balaga. Uday is a first-year PhD student from the University of Delaware, affiliated with the Center for Composites Materials. Uday, welcome to Imagine Aviation, and welcome all of you to this panel discussion on sustainability.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you.
Really excited for a great conversation here. When we talk about and you hear the term sustainability, it has so many definitions and connotations in our society today. So I wanted to take some time and facilitate a conversation to kick us off about some of your thoughts on regarding this topic. Uday, when I say sustainability or when someone mentions it, specifically, what do you think of in the realm of aviation sustainability? What does that mean to you, and how are you and your team addressing how you might impact this topic area?
Yeah, so if you ask me personally, I would generally say sustainability is nothing but just preserving a quality of living to future. But in terms of aviation, if you ask me, so we have a lot of technological developments in terms of research and scientific technologies. And we want to just maintain that quality by recycling a lot of materials. Since I'm doing my PhD project on recycling of composite materials for aerospace applications. So, I mean, we do have a lot of drawbacks while we do the recycling and in terms of sustainability, because the recycled parts or like the recycled components in the aviation doesn't exhibit the same quality or performance in terms of the the virgin materials. But how we are addressing this is with the process of our unique patent process called the tough technology. So we are trying to address this issue by using that technology by recycling the materials like the virgin materials or the materials which are like at the end of their life. And like trying to get the same performance as they were like having in their original or like the virgin parts. So from our technologies, we're trying to retain their 100% of their properties in terms of the stiffness and also in terms of the strength. So far, we were like managed to do all these experiments where we managed to get 100% of stiffness retention, which is like really, really important for stiffness critical applications. And also the energy savings is like really, really admirable because we had 70% of reduction in energy consumption in terms of the tough processing of recycled parts for 3 different iterations. So I think this one is like really a good kickstart for recycling composite materials for aerospace applications. And I would think this is like a great start for the sustainability aspect in terms of the aerospace applications.
Right. Oh, that's excellent. Zenit, same concept. When you hear sustainability in aviation, what are some of the things that might pop in your mind and maybe how your work connects to that? And you're on mute.
Okay, if I think about sustainability, I think sustainability is growth without compromising our planet's resources so that future generation can meet their needs. Sustainability, it involves taking action now to enable a future where the environment and living conditions are protected and enhanced. So airline design should incorporate several advanced aerodynamics and propulsion technology, as well as advanced health monitoring systems, so that aircraft operate at optimal achievable efficiencies. Efficient, reliable, and ubiquitous aviation communication systems will provide connectivity to improve operational performance. This included maybe liquid-filled natural gas, hydrogen, fuel cell, battery, low-energy nuclear, boundary layer ingestion, fuel burn, and energy consumption optimization, I think.
Excellent. Chanel, I think it's really relatively straightforward to envision sustainability regarding our impact on the environment, be it emissions, be it the air, be it the water, anything like that. But
right.
Are there any other ways you look at it? And how should we view sustainability in aviation beyond just that?
Right. So it's really easy, at least that it's really easy to envision sustainability in terms of its environmental impact and how we might mitigate those, like you said. But as a researcher, I also think of sustainability as more as maybe even survivability of whatever technology that we've developed. So from a technological standpoint, we might think about the maintainability of whatever products we developed, their ability to recover in the event of a fault. We might also think about the societal aspect to sustainability, such as ease of access, for example, to the UAM system, or reducing noise pollution, talking about efficiency and fairness of operations within the UAM system, even talking about profit. Because at the end of the day, all of these considerations combine holistically to allow the whatever measure or whatever product that we're developing to continue to exist and to continue to serve us to better our quality of life. So I don't think it's just a discussion on the environment, but also taking into account all of these other factors as we go forward.
Right, right. Now that's an excellent point. Taka, similarly, do you agree with how Chanel proposed that it's beyond that? It's almost economics. And from your presentation, we talked a little bit about the economic advantages to your technologies and how it could go forward. But do you see the similar concept as what Chanel mentioned there, that economics and other components really are under the sustainability umbrella, and how that can help us?
Right. So I really like what you had to say. I mean, we can have the best solution in the world for anything, but if we can't push that through, if we can't maintain that to help the society and the environment in all aspects, it's not a solution that's going to be quote unquote sustainable. So yeah, it's very important to be able to maintain and keep going and push forward with technology to be able to help every aspect of the world, not just to be green, but also economically, so socially, so on and so forth.
Right. And as all of you have touched on in one component or other in your presentation, it's really the interconnected systems, if you will, that is going to lead us to these solutions to these ultimate challenges that we're talking about, and that even that Palmori mentioned this morning, the ultimate challenge of sustainability and the continuation of the planet. So as I think more about it, and Zina, if you think about how else can any of these efforts in sustainability of aviation, how would they benefit the community, not just the aviation industry, but the community or what happens in society? How can efforts we all do in the sustainability of aviation benefit the greater good of society?
I think the air transport sector, it employs a million of people, and supports million through indirect and induced employment. It is an integral part of the world's largest industry, travel and tourism. And the sector also offers significant education and specialized training opportunities for young people. Empowerment of women is another success story, where the number of female pilots are rising day by day. Also, scaling up existing sustainable transportation technologies can open the door to high-level jobs and drive long-term sustained economic growth. I think it allows people to have adventures in new countries, to relax on tropical beaches, to build business relationships, and to visit friends and families.
You really had me at tropical beaches, but what the rest you said is excellent. It is something larger, and I think it's a testament to not only what our industry can do, but what you all can do of current students, but really about to jump into the workforce and drive some of these changes for all of us. And Uday, again, similar question. How can you see the work that your peers, your entire generation of peers that enter into aviation, how can it or how should it impact society in a positive way?
Yeah, so I completely agree with Gina. So it's like creating a lot of employment possibility for, a lot of people. And that's like, that's a good thing. And also there is a lot of other aspects that we can talk about like the collaborations with different researchers of different ideologies to develop these scientific technologies, or like in terms of anything like in terms of the aerospace. So there are a lot of other researchers doing a lot of other research projects on around the world, and there could be a lot of collaborations with them, that there's a mutual idea sharing where we can even get this better in terms of the aerospace.
Oh, absolutely. Chanel, we've talked a lot about obviously aviation and each part of your projects and how there's a sustainability link to that. But personally, let me dig a little bit in personal. What types of sustainability topics are you interested in? And how does the work that NASA is researching really inspire you to want to learn more, even if it's not in your specific field of expertise?
Okay. Personally, on an academic and work level, the idea of sustainability that I've been pursuing and keeping in mind as I develop new paradigms is essentially this idea of allowing or developing technology on a readiness level that would allow it to integrate into future readiness levels or future maturity levels. Does that make sense? It's not just designing for our current system, but designing in a way that would allow it to be maintainable and be even upgraded to different and improving levels of autonomy and maturity within whatever system or construct that we have, that we will go on. So we don't have to, at some point later on in the future, step back and say, okay, this doesn't work anymore. And then we have to go back through the process of redefining what the new goals are, or redefining the technology. And that essentially would have us incur costs that would have possibly been mitigated had we thought of this beforehand. So that's where I am on that from a work standpoint.
I love that. And I love the way, and it makes my mind think. It makes my mind think of you not only flash back, but then flash forward. Anytime there's been technological developments, societal developments, it's rarely a leap that goes, 100 years in the future. It's steps to get there. Right. And so when you mentioned that the steps today we're looking at, what will that enable 2 to 3 iterations beyond?
So I can put it in the context of my research. So I'm specifically designing for the UAM system, and even more specifically, the UML level. So essentially the urban air mobility maturity level 4 that is designed by the current NASA CONOPS, right? Within that UML level, we're not looking at fully autonomous operation just yet. There are different varying levels of autonomy. So some UAM vehicles may be piloted manually. Some may have maybe, I would say, like 50% autonomy levels and so forth. But when we're designing whatever, for example, whatever control protocol with respect to cybersecurity, we want to have this be able to be upgraded and updated in the future for fully autonomous operation. So that's what currently my mindset is within the project that I'm considering. On a broader level, I think it's important outside of aviation, within aviation, to keep this in mind going forward, because technology is not, we don't want it to stagnate at any point. And so part of sustainability is enabling us to continue moving forward and envisioning forward.
I love that definition. I love that definition of sustainability connection of not allowing your technology development to stagnate. It's an interesting view of it, and it's something that's refreshing. And I think we need to look more at that. Taka, if I lean to you a little bit, when you think about that philosophy itself, or the question I did ask Chanel, when you think of the work you're doing, 1, 2, 3 iterations later, what doors do you think can open to that, open up that we can only just sort of dream of now? Your current work is getting real data to prove that this thing can be working, but what couple steps down the road, what can you envision as well?
So I like to think, this technology right now we're developing for aerospace, and I like the idea of every air flight, every vacation that I want to take or every business that I take has a smaller impact. But on a grand scheme of things, I'd also like this technology to really trickle down to the consumer level, really, where I would like my car to be, 2 or 3 times more efficient, because we all drive in the United States, and the individual contributions, sum total, can be a very big impact, and from a material perspective, the novel, the high performance, the lightest, the strongest, always gets used for industries like aviation, and eventually it trickles down to the consumer level, and to me, from my perspective, right now I like to see that progress towards the individual impact. If we all are more efficient, that will make everything more from a use standpoint, we're going to be all less of a burden on Earth and their environment
on each other. But I wanted to say one thing. I was like, one day we shall all fly.
Yes, and that would be nice too, right?
Absolutely. But these are great points when you talk about it, and it brings to mind. And I was having a conversation a week or so ago with a couple folks, and it was, well, it's sort of that existential conversation. But I want to add, and Uday, let me go to you. Why do you personally think you'll hear a lot of times? You hear a lot of times the impact aviation has to the environment, and it's not as large as other industries. I mean, there's an impact, and we're all working on it. But why do you personally think it's important to continue to focus on sustainability for aviation when aviation might not be the prime contributor to reducing environmental impacts?
So in my personal opinion, contribution is something that has to be considered in every aspect. It's not like it can be a major thing or like a minor thing, but it's still a contribution. So we should always consider this aspect of sustainability if it's like even of a minor contribution. So when you talk about aerospace, we are not only having only the environmental impact, we also have this economical and also the effect on the society. So obviously we have to think about sustainability when it comes to the aviation, even if it's of a minor contribution, right?
Right, absolutely. Zenit, similar thoughts. Do you agree with some of the things you've been hearing from Uday, or Taka and Chanel, or do you take a little different approach to it?
I agree with them, and I want to add something that if you need to travel to long distance, this is the only practical form of transportation in our busy lives. And think about for tragic events where people are harmed and need rapid assistance, aviation is the logical transportation method. I think that to maintain a healthy society and healthy economy, we definitely need aviation sustainability.
I agree, and let me throw a good question here, almost like the quick response feedback from everybody here. But we keep talking about it. I opened with this and tried to draw you to aviation, but step out of your classroom, step out of your research, step out of it, and just be be a human being. It's hard sometimes. We're all clustered into our jobs, our students, but we're all people. So when I ask you, and we're really interested, the four of you are so exciting and enthusiastic and intelligent. But when you think of sustainability, what's the first thing that comes to mind that we need to think about for 50 years out?
I can keep it simple and straightforward. So we just want to maintain the same quality of living even in future and even for the future generations without getting compromising on the drive of innovation and creating new technologies.
Excellent. Chanel.
I don't know. That's a very big question for me to answer. I think I have to think about it a little bit more. I guess the first thing that came to mind when you said that was, in the future, whatever it is I'm working on right now, I don't want my kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, great-great-great-grandkids to be essentially have to redesign everything I have to do. You know what I mean? It's not just maintaining the quality of life we have so far, it's to push it beyond the current boundaries, to keep advancing and not have to revisit some of the same mistakes that we previously did.
Oh,
And that's
right.
my human perspective on that. Let's learn from history.
Excellent. Zena, same question.
I think that we can also think the efficiency of communication system, that the system can maximize efficiency so that we can use the smallest power to reliably convey messages. So I think that this will help people for airport link reliability and latency requirement in future.
Taka, you have to have a good one. It gave you most time to think about it.
I've been trying to get out of my materials mindset, but I still can't get away from optimized resource utilization and minimization of waste. And I feel like that encapsulates all of it. I'm sorry, I'm still, I can get out and be a human, but it's really important, but not just at the, it's all about, the resources are materials, but energy, right? How much energy does it take to make something? And then how much energy savings can you gain out of making a better material? Mm-hmm. And then ultimately, what do we do with that at the end of life? And can we reutilize that? Can we recycle everything? Oftentimes, one of the weird things that I have is that I run into is I look at my my recycle bin and any kind of trash I might have, and I wonder, well, this technically can be recycled. This technically can be recycled, but my local government doesn't recycle this, and it's a cost, right? Cost and a resource issue of, yes, all of this can be recycled. Is it worth it? Right now, it's not. How about in 50 years? How about in 100 years when all of this is in landfills? Is it worth it then? It's really hard because it costs more, but on long term, it may cost us more then. So, but that's when I think sustainability.
Yeah, and it is changing the perspective, isn't it? It's changing the perspective of what current state is, what future state costing will be. That's why I love that you all have brought up something other than, well, let's just make green aviation. You've talked about the economy, you've talked about society, you've talked about the impacts, you've talked about the challenges, because these aren't easy or they've been solved, but we need people to drive into it. And I love you bring that energy and thought to it. This morning in our keynote, we heard Pam and Steve discuss, as they were talking about some of the efforts that are going on with NASA and some of our X-planes, and say the low boom or even hyperspeed work. It's, I can get to Tokyo and New York in 4 hours. No, how about 45 minutes? And some of the themes I heard there were regarding connectivity. And they were bringing it from connectivity, probably of structures, of economic systems, of businesses. But I want to ask all of you about the connectivity of people, connecting to other people outside of our neighborhoods, outside of our universities, outside of where we grow up. How important is connecting with others around the globe to the success and the viability of the sustainability of our planet? Let me go to Uday first.
So I think the ULI initiative from NASA is really a good thought for getting all the people interconnected of the people who are having like-minded or like the same ideology in terms of aviation, sustainability in aviation. And I think it's really good that we have these thoughts being exchanged of developing this and getting sustainability a major aspect in aviation industry. So I think it's really a great thought, and it's like really good exposure with other people, and exchanging of the ideologies is like a good step from the NASA in terms of ULI.
Right. No, absolutely. Zena, how do you see the connectivity and making it a smaller world that we can interchange in, how can that benefit the strive and drive towards sustainability?
Yeah, if what I think, if you are connected and if we think together, then we can learn more about it, about sustainability, how we can change the world, how we will not affect the future aspects or future things which will be harmful for people. So we can learn about this. So if you learn about this together, then we can come to know how we'll work. So I think it is a good platform that we will work together.
Oh, excellent. Chanel, do you see the benefit, don't you? I would assume, of working together, of sharing ideas, of sharing ideas of people that don't have the same perspective or mindset of you.
Right, exactly. And I'm going to try and take this on more of like a global scale, because I realized within COVID, it really brought home how much aviation connects us around the world. All of a sudden, the world got significantly larger. So when it came to transport of people, transport of goods, countries that were engaged in specialization of certain goods, you can see that their GDP dropped during that time. And then the goods and services that we're accustomed to getting on a certain at a certain price went up. And so all of that connectivity of people, connectivity of economies, connectivity of countries and nationalities, diversity of goods and services and opinions, all kind of come together to drive our global GDP, our quality of life as people. And aviation really plays a big factor in enabling all of that.
Yeah, and I love that. And you hear and read a lot of the components about UAM and the emergence of UAM, and how will that expand to underserved communities? So let me ask you, how do you think UAM or any of the components that are the newer and next wave of aviation, how would that help to bring in underserved communities, underserved populations, underserved components of our society?
So I was I was actually thinking more rural, and really connecting. You know, I've been watching some companies really looking into how do we serve the rural, hard to reach areas, and aviation being able to deploy longer range drones and really being able to help with accessibility. That was actually what keeps coming to mind. Maybe just because of what I've been watching,
sure.
And being able to say, if I live or someone lives in parts of Alaska, it's very difficult to, say, get an Amazon Prime to deliver something the next day or the day after. And some of the, or when something, a natural disaster hits and we need supplies. I forget who mentioned it before, but having this be more accessible, aviation being more accessible, more, and having these solutions really will ultimately seems to, to me, be an ultimate good. I'm sorry if I didn't answer your question, but that's what's kind of, been in my mind lately about in context.
Oh, absolutely, and that was part of it. I asked a very large question, and we did hear that this morning as well, too. And because I've looked at a lot of that, and some of the work I've had the pleasure of working on in the past, talking about it for medical rescue or attentiveness to the rural community. It's if you get serious injuries in a metropolitan area, there's usually wonderful hospitals in our nation and around the world. If you're in the rural, how do you get access to great doctors? And so that's another component of what you said there. So I think that's great. Chanel, well, we're about out of time. Chanel, I'm gonna give you the last one. So I'll wind up and throw one at you here. I know you're ready for it. Talk to me. What inspires you? What inspires you about your future, the future of everyone you see here, and your impact you can make to the sustainability of society?
I'm going to bring in your previous question to answer this question. Because at the end of the day, whatever I work on and whatever I develop needs to be able to impact society across all levels and across all equities. And so the idea is that if I can develop more efficient systems, more sustainable systems, if we drive up that factor, then we drive down the cost of developing these and the cost of accessing these. And so people in more underserved communities would be able to access this type of technology or these services, and to be able to spread that, to have a more equitable distribution of the services within aviation to help these communities financially, as well as, I don't know, in all aspects of life, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That is inspiring. That clearly inspires you and a lot of the folks here. Boy, this is a wonderful conversation that I know could go on a lot longer. We're up against it. I get in a lot of trouble if I blow our timeline for this, but maybe we ask everybody to step aside and we all just keep talking for a while. This is wonderful. I really want to personally thank all of you, all of the students that participate on this panel, Zinat, Chanel, Taka, and Uday. Oh, thank you so much for your ideas, your passion, your work in this field, in the field of aviation. Good luck to you in the rest of your educational pursuits. We hope and we know we'll run into you again soon. And so thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Well, this seems like a great time to take a break. We've all been inspired. I think we can take a little bit of a break to stretch and reflect on our inspiration from this conversation, the ones we've had today. So why don't we take a brief pause, come back promptly at 40 minutes past the hour for an inspiring talk from our special guest, Adam Rubin. Thank you all. We hope you are enjoying it so far, and we'll know you enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you, and we'll be back with you soon for more of Imagine Aviation.